the continuing perpetuation that everything is found in the Aleph that was given on Mount Sinai when everyone heard the voice of Hashem in the Ten Commandments. Everything was given there in that Aleph Kametz. And the Aleph Kametz well, I have a lot for that, but the thing is that in that Aleph Kametz, I also see the three mother letters that are talked about in the Sefer Yetzirah. And these three mother letters are the connections, the horizontal connections in the tree of life. The Shin on top that connects Chokhmah and Bina. The Mem on the bottom that connects Netzach and Hod, and the Aleph in the middle that connects Hesed and Gevurah. And so these are considered the three mother letters. The middle letter is what I call the in-between. And again, the in-between is always the most important. And that's why the Aleph is there. Because everything is contained within the Aleph. So for my in-between, you see, the tennis lesson is the perfect example, because when learning takes place, it's not during the lesson, it's not during the hour, it's not during this, by the way, not during this event. The learning takes place after you hear this event and shut this off. The learning takes place in the tennis between the first lesson, then the time, and then it's shown what you learned in the second lesson. It's a sandwich, you see. The meat is in the sandwich. What actually is a sandwich? Is it the bread or the meat? Is it the bread on top and the bread on the bottom, or the peanut butter and jelly in the middle? See. So, what's your definition of a sandwich? And mine is that the Aleph is made up of a Yud on top, a Yud on the bottom, and a Vav in the middle. And this Yud on top, so it's made up of an on top, like the upper waters, the lower waters, and the firmament in between, the time between two events. Psychology, that's why they tell you to count to 10 before you do an action. Don't respond on the first, so to speak. Wait. The thing between. For me, the sandwich is the peanut butter inside. Although it could be the bread. Because that's like a peanut butter sandwich or a turkey sandwich. So it's not what's inside, but you're talking about the sandwich. So this is a big deal, by the way. In fact, you can write in and tell me, what's your definition of a sandwich? As if you've watched the video this long. The Yud on top is for me it's a shin. Strangely enough, these three mother letters, the yud on top, transforms into a shin. And the yud in al-bam transformation is a shin. So we have that shin there on top. And the yud on the bottom in atbash transforms into a mem. And in the middle, I keep a vav. And that vav makes it into an aleph of a shin on top, a mem in the bottom, and a vav. And that vav, and now remember, since I have it like this, it could be like chokmah on the top, it could be bina on the bottom, and the vav could be what I consider vadas. Because that vadas, see, I consider the vav to come from das. And das is like awareness. And that's what I want from the in-between. And das itself, when I put the vadas, becomes 480, which for me is Sitra Akra, and an opening into the other side. And for me, as you know, the Aleph Samek and the Samek Aleph, Ein Sof and Sitra Akra, are simultaneously in a quantum computer type situation, overlapping and interlocking. So this Aleph to me is a shin on top, a vav in the middle, and a mem on the bottom. And if you do the gematria of that, you get 306, that's 306, and 40. It's 346. That's the word shemo in, by the way, shemo echad. It's also the gematria of ratzon. So when the desire of Hashem to create the world, they use the word ratzon. The beautiful thing about ratzon is that it has the gematria of 346, which are these three letters of shin, mem, and vav. But if you, ratzon in itself is resh, zedek, vav, nun, final nun. And if you do that with a final nun, it comes out to be 996. And 4 letters, that comes out to be 1,000. So I've always considered the ratzon to be the 1,000, to be the Aleph. And that's the real Aleph in the center of the shin on top, the mem on the bottom, and the Aleph in the center. And that Aleph in the center to me is 1,000 and represents the word ratzon. And that word was heard on Mount Sinai as a as the Amen, not Amen. Well, that's another story. It was Amen, but it's the Aleph comets that was heard, and the only thing that was heard, because everything comes out of the Aleph comets. And for me, you know, I show tennis according to Judaism, so to speak. And I teach with the Yad. And strangely enough, the word comets means handful. And came up yesterday, I was showing somebody how to play, and then I realized about the ball, the kadur, you know. The kadur has the same gematria as comets, 230. And then just we did the gematria now of the word kador. Kaf, Dalet, Vav, Resh with a Yud in it. That comes out to be 1,056 plus 4 letters. That's 1,060. And that's Aleph is 1,000 and Samech. Ain't Sof is 160. It's also same letters, Samech Aleph, when you consider the Aleph 1,000. So the tennis ball is the same as this comets. You see? The 230. The Aleph. But for me right now, I consider that I'm considering the Shin, Vav, Mem. The Yud as the Shin, the Vav as the Vav, and the Mem as the Yud on the bottom. And in this sense, it can, as I say, from father and mother, because you know, Chokmah has the expression of Albam, and Bina has the expression of Atbash. And so this time in between, and this time in between is is the whole thing. It's the whole thing in life. You know? In fact, don't they say something in the Bible of between the pieces? Things like that. It's the time between. Because the time between is the center. It's the time between like two extremes. It's the third. The third is found in the center. You see? Just like the Aleph is found in the center between in the Sefer Yetzirah, between the Shin and the Mem is the Aleph. And everything is found between, and it's these are the 6 days of the week that are found between the two Shabbotai. And the 6 days of the week is the Vav, which is the center line. And so everything is in this Vav of time, in this idea of the 6 between. And the space between, and that's the meditative space. And that, in this sense here, when that becomes full, plentitudinal, awarenessful, there may be an opening here for some sense of personal choice, so to speak, or you know, your addition to godliness. You know, some awareness which comes from Das of free choice. You know, between these two things, and that's where learning takes place, and that's where the mind digests. It's like between two meals, between two of anything, between left and right, between up and down. It becomes a center. You know? They call it the floating bridge, between the upper and the lower. Even in say the Jewish star, there's a between, and this is a space one lives in. One lives in the personal space of the between. And so, for me right now, for right now, because these videos only are the expression of the moment and actually don't really apply after. But one learns from the in-between. And that's what's actually happening even in these videos. I'm sensating and digesting in between. So the video will go on, and then the digestion of it. And then there's another video. So the Vav, which makes up the Aleph, you see. And there's an interesting thing about the Vav, that the Vav into the Pei doesn't change in Atbash or Albam. In other words, an Atbash Vav is a Pei, and an Albam Vav is a Pei, and both the same way too. The Pei is a Vav. Pei, by the way, is 80, and Vav is 6. And so the two are 86, Elohim, which is very interesting for me because, I think that Elohim is in a certain sense the world of Din, and the world was supposed to be created by Din. In a certain sense, again, in the end of these videos, I always get more because why? I'm digesting what I started with. So the real video, the real aliveness of the video is in the in-between, because this is the jazz. I start, I in-between, and I finish. And I in-between the Vav into the Pei, which is the mouth. Interesting thing is it's 86, Elohim. And as I say, I think Elohim is higher than Yud He Vav He, because it comes from Din and includes Din. Now in these two letters of Pei and Vav, the Pei is 80, which actually corresponds to Yesod. And in a certain sense, the Vav corresponds to the bris. So that's where we're at. The whole formation of it becomes a 3-letter combination that are the 3 mother letters. And I'm doing this just as my mother's Yortzeit candle. Blowing out is going out, and my brother's 30 hours later is still lit. And this comes from them, the in-between, because I have the 3 Yortzeit candles actually lit this way. My father's on the right, my mother's on the left, and my brother's in between, on top, in a Keta position, or from the below, from below it's a Das position. And so, again, this relationship between Keta and Das. Do they appear at the same time as the 11 spices? You see? What's the relationship between Keta and Das? And so this is a few words about the in-between. And in between the start and the finish is life. Between the birth and death, between the wake up of the day and the going to sleep at night. It's the in-between. That in-between is the most important, and how you use it and sensate it in the overlapping 5 worlds. Remember, these are not hierarchies in these 5 worlds, and they're not linear. They're kind of like circular overlappings. You know. Strangely enough, in the Yud-He, Vav-He, and the Elohim, if you minus Yud-He, Vav-He from Elohim, you get 60, which is a samak, which is a circle. There's no doubt that the circular world comes out of the spine and the hips, not linear, but circular. Seems to be higher in the body also. So these few words of the in-between, and I don't want to leave the in-between. As my brother's light is still burning here, it's the in-between. In between Abba and Ima. In between life and death. In between